welcome back to You Are Too Pretty for This. So before I get into this message, I want you all to like my video, subscribe to my channel, and then share this message with anyone who you think may need to hear a good word. So we're going to go over Hosea chapter 6 verses 6, and it goes, "For I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings." So if you guys don't know what mercy is compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm. So Hosea was a prophet whom written about the unfaithfulness and lack of love for God from the Israelites. He said that he desired mercy, not sacrifice. He meant that instead of having to offer sacrifices, he would rather a relationship with God, for God to show him mercy upon his sins, upon his actions that may not be in God's will, his actions that may be out of God's will or God's liking. So Hosea witnessed the Israelites' unfaithfulness to God and was displeased at what he saw. And like back then, the same thing is happening today when you see people who are not believing in God and seeing people that are just doing things that are outside of God's liking. So many people are not being thankful of God. Rather, they are thankful of themselves, or they give credit to the universe instead of acknowledging God. They are more into astrology than they are into the word, and they are more faithful to the things of the world like money, greed, sin, lust, addiction, etc., more than they are of God. And when we compare stories in the Bible to today, nothing is new. The only thing new is the people and the things in it, but it's the same spirits that was back then, are the same spirits traveling to this day and age, that are not of God, which are the same, like I said. And so Hosea was a citizen of this town, and everyone there was full of sin, yet he remained faithful to God. This shows how his obedience in the Lord, this just shows how obedient he was to God and how much he loved and feared God. And this brings me to the question, why is it hard to be obedient to God? Why is it hard to be obedient? And when we look at the New Age people, we see all sorts of idolatry and witchcraft, which is the same as, what the Israelites did when Hosea was witnessing during that time, why, God was upset with them. And so Hosea said he desired mercy, not sacrifice, and he desired the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Why is it so hard to be obedient to God? Why would people rather believe in witchcraft, astrology, idolatry, rather than they would believe in God? Is it because of instant gratification? Is it because the truth of God is too difficult to withstand for some? Is it because there is no genuine love for God? I'm not sure, but if you truly knew and loved God, you would desire the knowledge of him more than you would desire the things of the world, and you wouldn't want to have to run after the things of the world, because you would desire God and his knowledge, and that'll be more than giving up a burnt offering, which was what the Israelites were doing back then. Their burnt offerings to those idols that they worshiped, because they didn't want to worship God, even though they knew God existed. And it's a question that I always ask them. Why, even though the Israelites knew God's power, they knew God's work, but they always, after everything, went well for them, after God would do and come through for them, they would just forget about him. And I just always wanted to know, why would they do that? And so I have, but if you knew him, you would know his everlasting love for his children. You would know his promises and his thoughts towards you. So Proverbs 1:7 says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Our bodies and souls were made to worship God. When you lack a relationship with him, you will always feel half full. There will always be a part of you that desires something other than material things. And no matter how much wealth you have on earth, you'll never be satisfied, because the true wealth is knowing the knowledge of God. And so I want you all to follow along with me. I'm going to read Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 24. So this says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust do corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will also be your heart. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eyes be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. And so just as the Israelites, they knew God, because they walked through with Moses, and here they were in the midst with Hosea, and they knew God, they knew of God's power, but they still chose to worship other things. They chose to worship false idols. They chose to worship people that were not God. And just like today, like I said, you see all of the same thing happening with people wanting to worship the universe, giving credit to the universe instead of God. God created the universe. They want to idolize celebrities. They want to idolize money and things of the world. They want to idolize having a big home or having a certain type of car, things like that, and more. And so I just really want you all to understand that that's not what life is about. Life is about having a relationship with God, building your relationship with God, and then serving God by worshiping him. And not only that, serving him by doing the works that he called you to do on this earth, not materializing and being materialistic with the treasures of the earth, because that's not gonna last. Those things aren't permanent. That you cannot take that with you when you leave this earth. You can't take it with you. And so it's not complicated to have a relationship with God, and somehow people make it complicated. And honestly, nothing what someone does should take you away from God in your relationship. It doesn't matter what someone did at a church. It doesn't matter what someone who is a Christian may be a hypocrite. It does not matter what individuals do to you, because that's not God's intention. God's intention is to have a relationship with you, not a relationship with everybody so you can get to him. And I'm saying that because when I go back to the Israelites, they believed God because they saw God's work through Moses, and that made them believe God. But after, that passed, they didn't really believe God. They didn't know God for themselves. So them knowing of God was because of, I don't want to say because of Moses, but that was the only reason why they believed in God. They didn't desire to have a relationship with God. They didn't work on a relationship with God. They followed Moses, which was like their idol, instead of God. And so I'm saying that because you have to know God for yourself. You have to know God for yourself. And the thing is, you don't have to know how to pray. You don't have to know how to do a lot of things, but it'll come in time. When you wholeheartedly pray, God, I want to have a relationship with you. God, bring somebody my way that's going to help me build my relationship with you. Whatever your question is, whatever your, words are towards God, He wants you to come to Him. And the more you don't go to God, the less you'll hear Him, the less, He'll be able to confirm things in your life. When you're not hearing God, you won't know your next step. But when you're doing things out of your free will that He gives you willingly, He gives us free will. If you're constantly doing your free will, then how are you ever going to grow in Christ? And when you don't know your last day on earth, then it'll be unfortunate to have all this time and you never said, I want to know you, God. I want to know you. I need to know you. And don't be like the Israelites, because God was really angry at them because He constantly showed them who He was, but they just did not want to have a relationship with Him. And He's not going to force anything. You can go to Him all you want, but He's not going to violate your free will. So I just want you guys to understand that aside from the things of the world, desiring God's mercy and desiring God's knowledge is far greater than anything you can ever want. I'm telling you, I've experienced not having things, and I've experienced when God blessed me with the things that I always dreamt of. And so when I got it, it never really felt real. I never celebrate the things that I have because, number one, I know that if God can give it to me, He can easily take it away. And I also know that even though I work towards getting these things that I have, ultimately, God is the one who provided it for me. And so I'm saying this because we think that, I work so hard to get XYZ, but you're only getting it because this is what the Lord has for you. And I'm not saying that the enemy doesn't give you gifts too, because look how he tempted Jesus into having the treasures of the earth. But Jesus knew himself enough to know my Father created everything in and of the earth, and I am wealthy, not only on the outside, but on the inside. So I'm just, thinking about the world we live in and how people just don't take God serious. And, like it goes back to what I said about the instant gratification, with people doing witchcraft, people doing astrology, things like that. I think people believe that because they can tap into this realm and hear things and hear spirits, that they don't have to go to God. But it's not true, because those spirits are not of God. And the enemy knows your past, and he will manipulate your past, manipulate your present with the things from your past. And I'm telling you, like, people, it's just time for people to wake up and understand that God is real. He is real. He is real. That's all I'm gonna say. And if you don't desire to have a relationship with him, then you'll never, your heart will never be full. It will never be full. I don't care what people get on the internet and say that they're happy. When they actually don't have a relationship with God, they will never, in their heart will always be unsettled, and it'll always be empty. They're gonna always long for something, and they'll never know what that longing is. And guys, I'm encouraging you to be closer to God and have a closer relationship with him. And that's it. And thank y'all, and y'all have a good, blessed day. Bye.